Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 19 of TLT. Sorry, I shouldn't say TLT. Round Wrap, Supercoach Off the Bench podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Timmy. Welcome, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. What a fantastic week of footy it was. Go the Maroons. Yeah, look at
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's in the past. That game, isn't it? We don't have to really talk about it now, do we? Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic
congratulations,
result. No,
congratulations. Yeah,
it
no,
was pretty awesome. Yeah, I'd said it right through the Origin preseason, I guess we'd call it. I thought we were going to get flogged. I did not give us a hope in hell of winning a game, let alone two. And the way that we dominated game three. Look, I was pretty stoked. It's the polar opposite to game one, and yeah, I don't know what happened to Nathan Cleary and some of the other boys. I think they're still on the bus on the way to the game or something. I don't know. I barely heard his name called all game, and it was just disappointing from some of the big stars. But no, absolutely proud Queenslander, born and bred, and yeah, fantastic result. One in a row.
all right. How'd you go this week, Timmy?
Yeah, mate, at 12.89, I brought in Aaron Clark late this afternoon as a last minute thing, and Donahue from the Dolphins just dumped Smith for Donahue in my hooking position. So yeah, and got things in place for the next couple of weeks. Just got to make some key trades, but yeah, that's basically me now. I've got 10 trades left, and that was the plan. Take 10 trades into round 20 and go from there.
Yep. Oh, that's a good score, Tim. Well done.
Yeah, should hopefully see some solid green arrows.
Yeah.
I'm currently sitting about 5K, and hopefully should squeeze up a bit more. So yeah.
Also joining us tonight, we have our special guest, Mark Barnes from the NRL All Stars podcast. He's also doing some writing now, I believe, as well on Supercoach articles for sport. Please, Mark, just fill us in on exactly what you're doing and where we can find all that sort of stuff. I can't exactly remember the name of it, but I have seen it and there's some great work in there, mate. So well done on that.
Yeah, thanks, Roscoe. So the All Stars podcast, obviously long running, but I just started as a covering NRL for the Sporting News Australia. So Sporting News Australia is where you can probably see some stuff from me. Probably like 10 or a dozen articles a week of just NRL coverage stuff. But about normally two articles a week at the moment are Supercoach as well. So provided there's enough traffic for it, the guys at Sporting News have decided that they'll give the Supercoach stuff a go, which would be really good because next preseason I can do a lot more work for free written content because obviously there's a lot of paywalls and not as much free content on the writing side of things anyway, plenty of podcasts. But yeah, so it's been good. And the All Stars podcast, obviously, been running for a while. So if anyone wants to listen, go for it. But thanks for having me on board.
No, it was been reading some of the articles, Mark. There's some good work in there too, and we're all known you pretty well from the community. You've had some great results in the Supercoach. And talking about that, how did you go this week?
Mixed bag. In context, my score was good, but 12-14 isn't good overall, really, I don't think. Although I won like more than half my head to heads with it, so I was quite surprised. But I only had 15 players this week, so I read with 15. So because I only had 15, I'm happy with the 12-14. Obviously, though, if I had the 17, I know that it would have actually been a good score this week and it would have been 1350-ish plus. So a bit disappointed about that. As far as the trades and moves that I made, it was a tough week for me because I had all the popular players that were out. So Pappenhausen, Payne Haas, Cameron Munster, and Munster hurt too doubly because I was going to trade him last week and I didn't do it, and I really should have. And the other ones that I had out as well, like I had some backup guys who I kind of hoped would be around round 19 when I sort of planned this a few weeks ago. One of them, Sandon Smith, and then obviously Sam Walker came in. Even Corey Pakes, I don't like very much, and he's probably only going to give me 35, 40 points, but I sort of thought he'd at least be there this week. And then Ben Hunt obviously returns as well. So I had a few of those, plus the buy around that didn't really help me. But a lot of people were in that boat, so I can't complain much. Was going to VC Hines, didn't do it. Ended up panicking a little bit. I had to bring in a hooker, obviously, because of my hooker situation. So I brought in Wade Egan just as a cut price budget option with a bit of a draw, hoping to jag some attack. He'll end up on 50 odd, which is okay. And then the other move that I made was a bit of a ballsy one, actually, because I considered a few but ended up going, you know what, I'm just going to stick to what I was going to do anyway and just get Nathan Cleary. And I sort of left myself some outs. And yesterday I was looking at some other moves, and I sort of just thought, look, I know I'm not in the position to waste trades, Roscoe. So I just went, I'm just going to use a trade that I was going to use next week anyway on Cleary to get him this week and just hope that he plays the 60 plus minutes off the bench and gets me a decent score. And that ended up coming off. So I'm kind of glad I did, because I didn't want to sacrifice a Hopper Hardy, a Garrick, a Tapani, these guys that are going to be useful down the track. And I don't really have the trades to do that. So, in a sense, I'm happy with how I navigated the week. 12-14 is okay. But it's bloody carnage, mate. It was a tough week for Supercoach.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I only had 15, but you definitely scored better than me. I mean, I think I got 1,060, and that was even after looping Jerome Hughes's 101 after updates. I
Oh,
just
he even nailed the 100 captain, mate. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I did.
I got the
But I
49
did.
from Drinky.
I had guys like Herbie who also turned up, and at least Katoa like everyone else, but didn't have Hines, and there was a few other subpar scores in there, that I had as well. I think King Tonga had to play from Dragons for about 30 odd, Sevilla for about 30 odd. It wasn't a great round. I traded in Kurt Donahue, which was okay for 47, not great compared to what he's been scoring.
Yeah.
My other trade in was I can't even remember now. It's
You
just
just
been
want to
that
forget
bad.
about the week.
It's just been that bad of a round that I'm just like I just want to move on to the next round. I had seven. I'd like you. I had like seven players on the buy this round, so it was just an all out disaster zone round. And yeah, like you had Haas missing, and and also Pappenhausen too, and it's just one of those rounds. And now, obviously, if you haven't seen the news too, Dylan Lucas has gone for the season, so there's another forced trade to be made, and
I
we're all
traded him
running
out
like,
last week, so I'm happy with that one. I got ahead of the
oh,
game there.
well, yeah,
Well
well,
played.
there you go. You traded him out, but you kept Munster. It might be worth it in the long run. I think you'll do okay out of that. So anyway, all right, let's move on to the first lot of games. The first game was Sharks 24, Dolphins 12. Nico Hines 137. Breaky Brayley was outstanding in this game too with 117. Nakora 84. Ramian with a 69. On the other side, Herbie just doing Herbie things, turned up again with 105. Max Figo with a 69. Isaac Katoa 51. Donahue 47. And Isako with a 46. And that is about as far as it went from there. Yeah, Sharks played really well this game. Dolphins looked like they definitely missed Hammer, and also not having who was the one that got injured again, the half. I can't think.
Nicarima.
Brady
Nicarima
Nicarima.
too. Big loss for them too, Nicarima. But yeah, no, hats off to the Sharks. One of Nico's probably best games he's played all season. Um, yeah, so how did we go with this one? What's our guys' thoughts? I just had a question come through earlier about Blakey Brayley. Do we actually think he's a serious pod option or option for the hooker position for the run home?
I do. Um, I it's obviously going to be hindsight to say that it was better a month ago, but like it really was, because you had that buy round, that the mini buy round that was tough one as well. He's obviously gone 100 and whatever he got this week, plus the 97 2 weeks ago and the 102 the week before. Like he's already had the big scores. Now, he did look like a good buy. Like, I think everybody, I'm not going to single out the All Stars podcast. I think multiple places spoke about him being an option because he was only 520K. And I think you had to buy him for the buys. I'd be a bit reluctant to buy him now only because he's got those big scores and he generally doesn't get the big scores like that. So he's already done it a few times now. In saying that, I can't write him off entirely. It might work out because there's some other Sharks that I really like, and it's because the Sharks draw is really good. Like coming into this round, 5 out of 7 of their games were at Shark Park, which I think a lot of people, it flew under the radar. A lot of people didn't look at it and sort of wrote them off a little bit. And those games now, like they got the Roosters this week at Shark Park, that's hard, but then they got Souths, Cowboys, Dragons, Titans by Newcastle. Like that's a really good run of games. And if you have a look at guys like Nico Hines, like his average against some of those teams is really big. And then you look at guys like Ronnie Mulatalo, who's going to be around 398K or something next round. He's like got a 92 final third average last year on the run home, and it has that run as well. So there's a few guys that I'm interested in. So I couldn't rule him out entirely, Ross, because that draw looks pretty good to me. And he's been playing really good footy.
Yeah, and obviously Nakora is going to be another one that a lot of people are probably going to be looking at now. I think he's only about 11% owned at the moment. So obviously with Lucas going down injured, he's probably a player that a lot of people are going to be looking at. I'd say I've been looking at him for a while now. He does interest me very much. A lot of upside to him running off Hines as well. I just think that he's a good option too. Timmy, what do you make of this game? Do you catch it at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I did watch this one. Yeah, look, Nakora had some nice updates. I think he finished at about 60 points or something like that. And yeah, went to 84 in updates. I had the VC on Herbie. He finished on 80. It was a little bit almost disappointing in the fact that he updated 25 points. Had he had that a little bit sooner this afternoon, or certainly before the last game kicked off or whatever, then I probably would have gone him instead of captaining. Well, I had to make the choice yesterday, but instead of captaining Teddy, absolutely would have looped the 105 when everyone seemed to be looping Hughes as 95 or whatever it was, and the other scores that were around. I absolutely would have taken Herbie, especially with having a free hit at the loop. At that stage, still only had 16 players. So, yeah, it was that was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, great that he scored, got another try, and yeah, just keeps chalking up those points. Nico's 137. He went up in updates as well. I think a lot of points came out of this game after the game had actually finished. So, Katoa with a 63 is always one to keep an eye on. Jesse Ramian as well. People have been watching him for a while with a 69. I almost brought in Izzy Katoa as a bit of a pod play for the run home and decided against it. Just I don't know. I don't know with that one. I got rid of Hines 2 weeks ago. At the moment, I've got DCE and not really sure what to do with him there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks. Trying to hold trades as much as I can, like everybody else is. But you got to use them. Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, Osako was obviously a bit disappointing with a 46, as I said as well. But I think everyone's in the same boat. We're a bit low on trades. I think we're just probably going to have to run with him. Do you think, Mark? Like, I mean, trades that are a premium at the moment, I don't think it'd be a luxury trade to do if we're going to move him on.
Yeah, if you got the trades, so definitely could move him on. I mean, the problem is though, like even for teams with trades, I think that you need to look at when you're trading guys in like a Sarko 3, 4 weeks ago, whenever you did it, you kind of around this period have to look at it as I'm going to have this guy for the rest of the year. And even if you end up, in 4 weeks' time going, hey, I didn't use any trades for a month and I've got a few, I might get rid of a Sarko. Like that's just a bonus. I really think that anyone that you're getting in now that's a big dollar purchase or even not a big dollar purchase, you almost have to do it as in, if I've got them in my team for the rest of the year, am I going to be all right with it? And I think that you already had to ask yourself that with a Sarko. So if you're low on trades, like if you've got, 8 or less trades, I don't think you can make trades like a Sarko out unless your team is really stacked and really deep, and then maybe you could get away with it. If you've got a dozen plus trades, I think that you're in a good position at this point, and you could probably look at it a bit more.
Yeah. All right, next game, Newcastle 14, Melbourne 32. For the Newcastle Knights, Gagai 104, Dom Young 103, Brabham Best with a 76, Lucas with a 52, already spoke about, and then on the other side, Katoa with another ton, 108, Liero, Jesus, 106 from him. I think he got a double as well. Hughes 101 and Kane Bradley for those who were very short on numbers this week. Worked out well for some, obviously with a 64 as well, and Meany with a 61. And then obviously Harry Grant with a 51 too. Guys, Ellie Katoa far out. He's just doing things this year. He's just going nuts. I mean, everyone should have him. I'm sure we all do. And Hughes just had an absolute great game as well. I thought Gagai and Young were good for Newcastle as well, Mark.
Yeah, I really like as Gago in particular. I've really liked since he's gotten the goal kicking duties and everything, and he's gone under the radar as like a pretty good purchase this year, but he sort of does that every year. It's just that there's so many other options. Like I already wrote, like I said before, I traded Dylan Lucas a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't last week; it was actually a couple of weeks ago because I basically, without Kalen Ponga, have written Newcastle off. Like I don't like their draw. Their draw's not very good. They only scored 14 in this and still had two guys ton, which is a credit to them. But I just don't want. They've now lost Lucas as well on top of the other injuries. I just don't want a bar of them for the run home, so I couldn't possibly buy any of them. I looked at it as in I was trying to work out, look, who's going to get the start for Dylan Lucas. Maybe that's a downgrade option to upgrade. I don't even want to do that at the moment because I'd rather have an upside of a centre wing, Ronnie Militalo at 390k or whatever he ends up being after lockout. So, yeah, I've got unfortunately not much positive things to say against for Newcastle other than it's great that Gagai turned up for the owners, I
Yeah.
think.
It's massive for them to lose, three big playmakers in Lucas, Sharp and obviously Ponga as well. It's going to be a tough run out for the season for them. They could go close to getting the wooden spoon now. I think probably a battle between them and the Titans, I'd say, for that. Timmy, how did you go in this game? Who did you have in this one?
Yeah, I had a few of the big hitters in Qatar and Jerome Hughes. Was blessed with having Kane Bradley. He scored 68 at the end of the game and downgraded to 64. Dylan Lucas as well. Look, and he missed his BE by about 50 points, so he's probably going to lose 40k or something like that. So
Mm.
it's going to be an interesting one with him, whether or not you sort of depending on your strategy. Like I've got sorry, Kane Bradley in there, like I was saying before. Whether or not I go then Dylan Lucas to a bow firmer to keep utilizing the same sort of position that I was in by having Kane Bradley. So yeah, I don't really know. Just give you that little bit of versatility across the dual positions for centre wing and second row forward. So that'll be an interesting one to mull over the next few days. Yeah, look, Katoa looked fantastic, guys. He's just scoring tries for fun now, but just the extra workload that he's putting in. The other one that'll be interesting to watch, which I'll talk about later on, is going to be Jeremiah Nanai, a very similar player to Eli Katoa in that right-hand side second row spot. I love those guys there. They both catch the kicks and score plenty of points. So, yeah, look, it's this one's going to be interesting looking forwards. I think those that I jumped on Jerome Hughes last week or the week before, pretty stoked at that one. Although Nico repaid the those that did hold on and got the points this week. So that was the trade that I did at the time, thinking that Jerome would outscore him 2 weeks to one. And yeah, close, but not quite.
I think
Yep.
the other thing that came out of this one too was Harry Grant with only a 51, and he
Mm.
actually had a try assist off a kick as well. So that's 12 points there. His terrible base has just continued, and he did go off for a breather again early, so he didn't play the full complement of minutes still. But yeah, a bit of a worry. Like I could have got Harry Grant this week, and I chose just to go on a cheaper option and use 150k elsewhere instead. And I'm happier with that. I think Brayley owners would be laughing because I'm not sure whether we see vintage Harry Grant on the run home, and the fact that they put up 32 points so easily, won the game so easily, got to give him a breather as well, and didn't have other guys taking the ball like Munster and Pappenhausen as well. Like I'd be pretty worried about Harry Grant at the moment. I'm a bit suspect about whether I want to get him in for the run home after watching that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that one, Mark. I mean, it was a concern with, like you said, 51 with a try assist is not great. Well done to those like you said who bought in Brayley this week. Might have gone the option of him for the extra 15k, which is all he was. But yeah, I have got concerns for Harry Grant. I sold him like weeks and weeks ago now, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if I'm looking to bring him back in. Like you said, Mark, it's one of those things where there's a lot of shared points in the Storm, as we say every single week. And that's the reason why I put the VC on Hughes for this game was because there was no Pappenhausen and there was no Munster, and it was just there basically to. It was basically there for me and just going. I'm just going to do it. And if it doesn't work out, then I was just going to captain Teddy. So it worked out okay for me. And only having 15 players, I was more than happy to bank those 96 points. And of course, Teddy, which we'll talk about later, got the junk points at the end, but as he does. But we'll get to that one after.
Just on
Yep.
Harry Grant there, I think the most concerning thing looking at his actual numbers. So he's only gone two scores in the 70s, two scores in the 80s, and a 61. Everything else is basically 50 or below. So that's the most concerning part with his. It's not the usual big tons and things like that that Harry Grant's been so well known for such a long period of time. So that's the part that I would find where I think he probably just falls down the pecking order for me. 600K or thereabouts. Yeah, it's a no, not for the moment.
His base is atrocious. Like
Mm.
his base has gone down by about half a dozen points year on year. And to get what is he, 36 or 37, 30, just on a 37 base is appalling for a
Mm.
raw base for a hooker that's playing basically 80 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's the worry from it. That was actually a good point from Tim because I thought about it before I decided not to bring him in this week because I was looking at the ownership and about 6 weeks ago I actually liked Harry Grant because his ownership was so low. I almost bought him a few times because I sort of thought sub 10% ownership, this could be really good for Harry. But then I put it off, and the more I've looked at it now, I'm doing the math on it, going, look, even if he gets, a line break trying to try assist, he's going to struggle to ton up these days because his base is just so low. And then
Mm.
you do the difference in numbers and go, well, if I get Wade Egan for 150K less, and he's going to make 50 to 60 tackles and have a base around 50, which is 13 points better than maybe what Grant will do, then it completely kind of negates it. So, yeah, I'm pretty worried about a Grant if I owned him. I'm sort of glad that I've changed my mind on him the last month.
Yeah, I was close to getting him this week, but not the fact that he wasn't named in the actual squad originally, and then I thought, oh, maybe he's not going to play 80 minutes, even though they did name him to start. So yeah, no, definitely a concern there. All right, we'll move on to the next game. Dragons 24, Roosters 31. Jaden Sewer 126, Fainu with a 75, Valholm 71, Leilua with a 63, and then on the other side, Billy Smith. He was great this game. I was listening to this car driving home. He got 105. Tupu with a 99, Teddy with an 84, and Victor Radley with a 65. Couple of ones that were, wholly traded in this week. Connor Watson with a 56, and Angus Crichton with a 53. Sorry, boys. Can you just keep going for a sec? I'll be right back. Just to have a chat about the game for a sec.
Yeah, I actually reckon that Billy Smith got really lucky. Timmy, I'm interested in your opinion on it because I know people sort of think that one of those try assists should definitely go to Teddy. I actually reckon there's an argument that both the try assists should go to him, particularly like one of them in particular, which is the second one. Tedesco does a cutout pass and cuts out someone, hits Billy Smith and puts him in a 2-on-1 where Billy Smith basically jogs a metre and a half and then passes the ball to an open winger. That's been a try assist to the fullback or whoever passed it really forever and a day, forever. And if it's not even that clear cut when it's a superstar like Teddy, he just gets it every time. And for about a month now, Tedesco, I'm just going to say Tedesco's been absolutely rorted on the points because if that was Nathan Cleary that threw that pass, 100% he's getting that try assist. And I'll go as far to say on the first one, they'll say that's a Nathan Cleary try assist as well because on the first one it was quite similar where Teddy's thrown a longer ball, hit Billy Smith, and Billy Smith's run onto it in a good spot and just had to shuffle it on for an easy try to Tupou there as well. So I actually reckon he could have gotten both try assists for those and easily turned up. So I reckon that was the thing that I took away was that was pretty harsh, I reckon. And I've noticed a bit of a change in the last month in the scoring, and particularly for Teddy, I reckon it's affected him a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because you and I were having a bit of a chat about this in the Podmasters group last night and copping it from all sides. And look, I actually own both players in Supercoach and Captain Teddy, so I absolutely agreed. I missed the first try. I came in 5 or 6 minutes into the game and missed the first one. But yeah, absolutely, that second one, like he took the ball all the way to the line and then passed. Then Billy Smith flicked it out to the winger and went over. So. Yeah, look, I was pretty cranky in that. I think the second one is absolutely clear cut, and by all accounts, the first one he was heavily involved in as well, and deserved more than just the 4 points for the try contribution, which he didn't actually get after the first try. He got the try contribution for the second try, and he's got the 4 points in the update since. So I think he went up 11 points or something in updates this afternoon. So he's now gone with the one try assist that he got at the end. and 2 try contributions. So they'll be the first 2 tries.
Yeah, see, I think he's getting rorted. I really
Yeah.
do. And it's not and some people will disagree with him getting it, and that's fine. Like if I was to decide on what I think a try assist is, I might disagree with them as well, giving it to Teddy. But it's just about the rules and how they call it and the consistency. Like
Mm.
when you see that call all the time as a try assist, well, for Super Coach, that's a try assist, whether we agree with it or not. That is. And he's also, I think there's two other things that are really noticeable with Teddy. Like the one thing is the scoring is really different for him lately, which is a concern as an owner. And the second thing is as well, it's not as much a concern, but like Ross mentioned the junk try at the end. The interesting thing with Tedesco, and I think something that everyone needs to be prepared for when they're going to captain him, is that he's playing a role this season where he's really stepping up in the last 20 minutes. So you are going to get a lot of points generally from Teddy in that last quarter of the game because he generally lets the game kind of run through everyone. I think that he's been a lot better at not probably overplaying his hand as much. And then when the game's in the balance, you really see him start to warm to it in the second half. And that's happened most of the year, but particularly last couple of months. So, even though they're, so-called junk points, it's kind of in his kit bag. That's what he's been doing. And it's what I kind of expect from him. So I'm never, unlike other players, I'm never fully worried that Teddy's going to be on a terrible score because it's kind of how he's playing at the moment as well.
Yeah, look, and I absolutely agree, mate. And for me personally, just with regards to my own team, I went turbo to him about 4 weeks ago when Turbo last went down with whatever injury it was or whatever the hell had happened to him. So I actually had to find a fair bit of cash to do the upgrade as well. And I'd spent the last 4 or 5 weeks previously bitching and moaning about where the hell Teddy just seems to get all these points from. So the boys gave me a bit of a ribbing on the podcast, and I'd basically thrown all the toys out of the cot, spat the dummy, and went, "Oh fuck it, then can't beat them, join them." So then basically, yeah, ripped the team apart to pull him in, and now these ones where you're sitting there going, "How's he get that?" Now all of a sudden he doesn't seem to be getting the points, so it is a bit of a kick in the kahunas for me. But anyway, that's super coach, and but like we've said, mate, we've both been playing this game for a long time, and that's been a try assist since Buddy Moses parted the Red Sea. So
It's been forever. It's been
yeah,
forever. I was fortunate. I was just fortunate. I had Daniel Tupou this week, so his 99 was due. I thought he was going to get a hat trick. He had that 2 tries in the first 9.5 minutes. So he got an extra line break later on, but I was ready for 140 plus from him. I thought he was going to do it. But to the Dragons' credit, the Dragons actually came back and started hitting back with tries as well and made a game of it. It looked like it might have been a little bit too easy at the start for the Roosters, but it wasn't.
it was
I was
30,
listening. I was listening
30
to the
points in the
game.
first 18 minutes. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, I was listening to the game driving home, and I'm just like, oh, it was to and fro. It's like a tennis game. They ever try, we ever try, then they ever try, and then we ever try, and it was a wingathon.
Mm.
Honestly, when like you said, Mark, when Tupu scored those first 2 tries in 10 minutes, I'm like, oh god, here we go. He's going to get about 4 today. I thought one stage.
And that's why as well. Like that's a really good example of why pods are important because like I said, I only had 15 this week, so it was like going to be like really tough for me. But my pods like came through and saved me. Like Tupou's like 2% owned, and 2% owned to get 99 is massive. Nikora, 11% owned, getting he's 84. Like that's where the pods really. It's not just about trying to get these pods that are just going to push you over the top all the time and stuff. It's also about these leaner weeks when they can actually come through when the bigger names don't. That actually really helps out, and it did with me this week. The other one, boys, that I reckon that we need to mention is Nwangania Tuaze was really popular this week, and he only threw up a 32, which is pretty disappointing for people that brought him in.
I've had him for about 3 weeks, and I think I've got the last of his tons. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Like you said, he 25 points or whatever it was. I really banked on him scoring well this week, and was a pod play in most of my head to heads as well. So it was a bit frustrating.
Yeah,
Have you got him, Ross?
what's that?
Have you got him?
No, I don't. I don't know. There was weeks there where I was looking to get him, and I wanted to get him in my team, and I just didn't do it. But I did say on the pod last week, I should say that he wasn't a buy for me this week, and that's why I didn't understand why he was so highly traded in. Like the Roosters' draw, as you probably agree, Mark, after this round is not great at all. But I thought he would score well this game. But I certainly wouldn't have been bringing him in. I would have probably preferred a Val or a Lomax over him this round, even though they've got probably tough draws too. To'o was one that I'm looking at as well, to potentially bring in for next week. But yeah, look, if you got him now, I think you have to hang on to him. Obviously, as well, he's gonna get the big games. He's gonna have the big games. I think this is the lowest score all season as well, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, it is. I mean, my problem was the 700K.
Yeah,
It was expensive when we don't have much of a sample size,
yeah,
and it's one of those ones where like it sounds common sense, but when you say he could either be, keep going on with it, or he might actually plateau and have some really bad scores. But you don't. If you've got someone like a Brian Toto that you're buying, you don't expect a plateau or some really bad scores for the run home. You expect him to be Brian Toto because we know what he looks like, and we've known
yeah,
that for 5 years.
yeah,
With Mark Nawangania Tuaze, you only know it for a bit over half a season, and he's missed some games there too. So, in 14 games, do we really know what he's going to do in Supercoach? And this is a result of that. It's a bit hard to make those calls when they're expensive ones at 700K.
yeah.
For
That's
me,
it.
I,
That's what I
I
mean,
just
though.
think
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what you know what you're going to get out of Lomax, and you know what you're going to get out of Val, and you know what you're going to get out of Toto. So they've got bases in them, and as we've seen now, he doesn't have that. That's the thing. So
And he went up to 25% ownership, mate.
yeah,
I was shocked. Like
I
I
know.
loved him as a pod when he was at like
Mm,
9% and stuff 4 or 5 weeks ago.
mm,
25%, he's not a pod anymore. Like you
no.
sort of got to
yeah,
look elsewhere for the pods. And like I liked Angus better as a buy this week because
Yeah,
again, 575K or whatever he was around there. It's not very much money. And I'll tell you one of the things that's going to kill potentially Nwangania Tuaze. I was chatting to a couple of the guys and they were asking me about, what do you think the Roosters are going to do? Because Sam Walker's always like normally been on the right hand side and Sandon Smith's been on the left. And I thought beforehand that they wouldn't want to move a rookie in Hugo Savala from the right hand side because he's comfortable there. That's where he plays. That's where he's played before, actually. So, I sort of took a bit of a gamble that was going to be the case, and I've been loading up on that left hand side. Sam Walker on the left now. I think the ball's going to dominate that side more, and we saw it with Tupou getting some good early ball for 2 tries, and he hasn't scored for a little while, Tupes. And we also saw Billy Smith getting some ball, and you saw the result. Both of them turned up. Angus is on that side as well, which is why I think it's good for him. But does it spell danger for the right hand side of the Roosters? It may very well, because I think that Walker will move over there sometimes and roam, but predominantly he's going to be sticking to the left hand side now in that Sandon Smith sort of role.
yeah. And obviously the news that came through today that hasn't been sort of said made official with Hugo Savala has got an injury of some description. Was it an arm injury or something, Mark? I think it might have been
Wrist.
wrist injury. So they're saying he may miss 1 or 2 games, which is not ideal either because no doubt Sandon Smith comes back in, who pretty much everyone would have solved this week as well
Yep.
because they pretty much everyone had no hooker. Hopefully he's not out too long. I've got him in my team and I'll just have to sit him out. I won't be trading him out anytime soon. I mean, I'd love to have the cash and the luxury to trade him to Nico or something like that, but I just don't have the funds or the trades at the moment to be doing that. So, all right, we'll move on to the next game. Next one was Bulldogs 12, Cowboys 8. Not a great game for Supercoach wise. Zach Labert with a 92, Billy Burns 87, Murray Talangi with a 69, Dearden with a 62. Then on the other side, Preston 67, Tuala 66, Matt Burton 64, and Max King with a 60. Some other ones in there. Karaz got a 53, which was okay, and Drinky with a 49. Did downgrade a bit after finishing on 60. He did go to 93 at one stage in the first lot of updates, and somehow went from 93 back to 49. Um, Tom Dearden, boys, was one I was looking at when I was bringing in a 5/8 option this week. It was going to be him or Blaze Talangi. I ended up going Blaze Talangi in the end, but I do like what I see from Dearden, and obviously after his match-winning performance in State of Origin the other night, he was one I was interested in. The Cowboys draw is a bit mixed. He did have a high BE, which kind of put me off getting him in this week. Maybe wait until he bottoms out a bit more to maybe sell King Tonga on to him or someone like that. You guys, what's your guys' thoughts on Dearden as a possible option at 5/8?
yeah. Look, I actually like it. I brought him in our off the bench draft this week, and I couldn't believe he was just sitting there for the taking. So, yeah, look, I think he's actually a decent play. He had a high break even, so he's going to lose a fair bit of cash. And a few of these key Cowboys players are in the same boat. So, yeah, look, I think you could go worse. Just having a really quick look at their draw. Uh, do, 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 do.
They've only got 3 more games in Townsville.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. So they've got the Dolphins at Suncorp next week, Dragons back up at North Queensland, Sharks at Shark Park, Para in 23, Knights in 24, Tigers 25, Bronx 26. So they've got their last bye in the final round, which for head-to-head players, comp's over and done with by then. So if you're not concerned about that, then yeah, it's I think he could go worse. And the fact that he's got the dual position, if there's a late injury somewhere in either your half or 5'8", he could be a handy player to flip back and forwards.
It feels like I'm being a bit unfair here because I'm going to say that he doesn't have enough of a ceiling for me, but he scored 143 against the Titans this week, and he scored 114 versus this year, and he scored 114 versus the Tigers as well. But he's only actually got like half a dozen tons in his career, I think it was, and he just doesn't. He's just got to do a lot to ton up for me, and he could easily go the rest of the year without tunning. And it just, when I say the ceiling, like I'm talking about consistent ceiling. Like if you get a guy that's giving you 90, 80% of the time, then you don't care that he's not giving you 140. You take the 90s all the time. Payne Haas is a good example, But with Dearden, like he's not consistently getting high. He's got so many low ones. Like almost a third of his games this year are sub 30. And I just, for 610K too, it's a bit tough. I think if I was earlier in the year, I might be able to get on board with it. But I think at this point, I would probably ask anyone who brought him up, who are you trading to Dearden? Because, if you're trading a Jaden Campbell, a Cameron Munster, a Blaze Talangi, even some of these other, subpar guys that are just sort of average, I'd just say, is it really worth burning a trade? Like, even if you've got heaps of trades, just leave it for the end and you might, get better value out of it. I just don't see the value in it. I think he's a great player. I think he's improved incredibly, but the things that he's improved in so much, like, I think it was Darren Lockyer on the weekend was saying, if I was teaching a halfback how to play, I'd tell them to watch Dearden and how he defends and he's tackling. And how he tackles is great, but it's not going to give him any more super coach points. It's still just that point for the tackle. So I just don't think that it translates that well. He kind of reminds me of Kieran Foran in that regard, in Kieran Foran's heyday. So I don't think it's a bad trade. I just think it's probably unnecessary and unneeded for most teams.
Yeah, more a draft play rather than a classic play, I think.
Oh, if you got him free in draft, I can't believe you did that, Timmy.
Yeah, jagged it.
Yeah. Anyone else we want to speak about here? Any Dogs players that you guys own or want to talk about at all? I'm a Preston owner. I'm pretty happy with that 67 out of him this week. Yeah, as I said, it wasn't a great score super coach wise for any of the players really. Very low scoring game.
Tough game.
I like Preston. It's just under 650K. He had a break even of 91, so he's going to drop 15 to 20K or something like that. So, and then probably have a relatively higher break even again. So, yeah, he's one to certainly keep an eye on. As I said before, Jeremiah Nanai piques my interest. 57 this round. He had 103 break even, priced at 531, so he's going to be only just above 500K. And just as a bit of a pod play, I'd be a lot happier with that if they had more games up at Townsville. But the fact that they're on the road and playing some tough teams on and off, yeah, I don't know. It's again, I've got him in draft. He's a great player to have in there, and maybe at a pod play for classic if you want to run that way. Currently sitting at, where is he? 2% ownership.
So he could have been a good downgrade because you can go like someone like Lucas down to him if you needed to do that type of trade and make some cash to do a second upgrade and just keep him. I think the telling thing though is like a lot of people in rugby league don't watch press conferences. Have a watch of Peyton's press conference after the game because he's basically said a lot of people are playing first grade that aren't first graders at the moment in my team and they're not doing their job. And Jeremiah Nanai, as we know, has been dropped multiple times by Todd Payten. So that would be like
Yeah.
I'm worried about just about everyone that's not named Dearden or Drinkwater in that Cowboys side at the moment, listening to Peyton and seeing how they're playing. And that's something that you got to take into account. The real life stuff can really affect the super coach stuff.
I don't think
Yeah,
he's got a great base either. He's very trial dependent too as well. I remember I think it was last season when he scored all those tries and they were all off kicks as well. And even when he was scoring 2 tries a game, I'm pretty sure he still wasn't scoring that well either. So yeah, it's a pass for me. But yeah, look, we'll have to start looking at some pod options. Obviously, some stage down the track, we're not going to catch up if we follow the pack and go the same players. But anyway. All right, we'll move on to the next game. Was Warriors 34, Tigers 14. CHT with an 83, Tuapiki 81, Aaron Clark with a 72, Halasima with a 71, Tanner Boyd a 65 for those who bought him in as well. And then for the other side, Adam Dewey 99, May with his lowest score of the season so far with a 57, Skelton 54, and Luai with a 49. Oh man, this game frustrated me to watch as a Tigers supporter because they're absolutely terrible. I don't know how much more of these games I could watch. The Swans were playing at the same time, and I was just changing it over to the AFL at some stages there. I think Dewey was the only one who was really out, probably by far our best player in this game. Luai had a couple okay touches, but other than that, the forwards were pretty average. May tried his best, but that was about as far as it went, and then. Yeah, the Warriors were just far too good. I thought Harris Tavita was outstanding in the halves with Tanner Boyd too. And their go forward was just really, really good. Even their bench, with guys like Muga coming off the bench and guys like that. They've got a good team. They've got a good draw. Also for the run home, which I'm sure you guys have seen and agree on. I think there's some really good options there if you are looking to move on guys like Dylan Lucas, maybe an Aaron Clark or someone like that, Tanner Boyd. If you're looking for a cheap downgrade option in the halves as well, I think he might be okay getting a 65. But yeah, Timmy, what's your thoughts on this? Warriors said the Warriors have got a really good draw for the run home.
Yeah, mate, I had a really good look at it today. I brought in Aaron Clark, as I said in the intro, and I've been chewing over that one for a while because I didn't start with him and missed out on all the points where guys that sort of are in and around now overall, I guess, did start with him, and most of which have held right the way through. There's actually a lot of pods in this team if you have a good look through it, and also with the run coming up. Guys like Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, even Jackson Ford, you can flick between second row and front row. I've got Chanel Harris-Tavita, and I've pretty much had him from the start. His scores since Luke Metcalf has gone down have actually been really positive, and his involvement in the team and in the attacking plays has certainly gone up a notch. When I had both of them, both the halves, at the start of the season, and ended up flicking Metcalf. I think I said on the show last week, flick Metcalf because CHT was outscoring him week in, week out. Unfortunately, the week I've sold him, that's when Metcalf really hit his straps and he, went ballistic after that. But now that he's gone, CHT's gone back up a gear and it seems to be his team again. At which point I'm pretty happy to hold him and actually considering playing him week in, week out now across this draw going home.
Yeah, I'd play CHC if I had him. Oh, I like a few of the Warriors too. I really like Roger as a solid value play.
Mm.
I've liked him. I've been eyeing him for a month. He's 560,000. If I had the trades, I would have already brought him in, but I had to pull back and not go with my plan. He scored 70 today with a try line break, but it just looks like that's going to come really easy on the draw that they've got. He's not a guy that's going to give you the 120, 130 massive games anymore, but he is a guy that can give you that 70 to 90 range consistently across the rest of their draw. And I think at 560K, he's a really good downgrade to do that for you. And then you've also got another guy that we haven't mentioned is I can't remember how long they're going to have Nickel Clock start out, but Tuapiki today was 81 and he looked great. And he's a fullback centre wing dual. He's had a break even of 63, so he's going to go up slightly, but he's still going to be around 415,000. And you talk about downgrades and pods that can win it for you on the run home. Talpegi at 415K, if he continues to get that start at fullback, He'll make 200K pretty easily. And he'll also be playable just about every week because he's got so many tackle breaks, so much attacking ability, and there's just so much value at that price point. So he's an Uber pod at 1%, and with the draw that they've got, I think he's going to be picking up bulk attack. Boyd, I'm actually interested. Like Ross, Timmy mentioned Boyd. Ross, I want to know your opinion on him because I'm in such two minds about him. Obviously, at 5'8", you mentioned that you've got King Tonga.
Mm.
He's a downgrade from King Tonga, and you're not going to make much out of it. But like Boyd's someone you can probably play. But then again, you look at what Boyd's done before, and even though he's good today, 65 points with a lot of goal kicking. 3 other seasons now where he's basically played an 80-minute role as a starting half. He scored 34, 49, and 43 points in each of those 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Like he's never been good, and I never really thought that he was very good. So I don't know whether that's going to change this far into his career or not. And
I see your point, and we also have said this point a lot of times about Aaron Clark as well. How
yeah,
the bloke's never ever in all his career been super coach relevant at any club he's been in, no matter what position he's played and how many minutes he's played. Yeah, look, I don't know. I think given the amount of trades that I've got left, I'm probably won't go there. I was interested in him, just wanted to see first. I was nearly going to bring him in over Blaze Talangi, but I wanted to see if he got the goal kicking first as well. So that was one thing I thought maybe could have gone to him. It could have gone Adam Pompey as well. So I wasn't sure on that, but I think I'm just going to stick with what I've got because I've still got, I've got to still Dylan Lucas. I've still got Toby Couchman sitting there. These are the guys who have to be priority trade outs first before worrying about bringing in a guy like Tanner Boyd for a guy who's not going great, but he's still scoring anywhere from 30 to 50. And like you said, take out that goal kicking points and a try assist today from Boyd, and he probably gets maybe 30 points, give or take. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, but Jackson Ford does interest me a bit as Tim said, as an option as a trade in to replace Dylan Lucas as well with that dual position too. I don't mind that either. So, yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next game anyway. It was Penrith 32, Parramatta 10, Lomax 80, Charlie Goomer 71, Katoga with a 63, Iongi with a 62, and then on the other side of it, Targo probably his best game in a long time with 102, Lindsay Smith 81, Cleary with a 79 with a try off the bench, and IPAP with a 74, and then Blaze Talangi with a 72. And for those who held on to him, I thought Jenkins had a great game too with a 67 as well. What's there to talk about here except for the fact that we spoke about this in the chat earlier, Mark? What is Jason Rolls doing here with Dylan Brown? I know he's leaving, but really?
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Like, seriously. He said before the press conference after the game where he said the future's now and we got to look at it. Like, there was a couple of para fans here and there that sort of made the remarks or commented on articles and stuff to say, oh, look, they've got to build for the future. So I'm sorry, like, I understand where you're coming from, but even though I agree with that in a vacuum, okay, you want to build for the future. Everything that Jason Rolls has done this year in the Parramatta Eels says that they're not doing that. So you can't just say, oh, that's why we're doing it when you know, because the other stuff you did was shit. Like 3 weeks ago, before the June 30 deadline, they could have gotten rid of Dylan Brown and saved money and had it on their cap, but they didn't do it. And like 6 weeks ago, back in May, we had Jason Rolls scream at reporters to say they're not even going to ever consider getting rid of Dylan Brown before June 30. He's committed to this year and he's an important part of the team. Like, which one is it? Okay, because like, if you wanted to build for the future, then the smart thing to do would have been to get rid of him 2 weeks ago before June 30, and you didn't do that. So you can't turn around now and play him for 35 minutes and say, oh, that's what I'm doing, don't you know? Because it's not what you're doing. You've just decided that this week, which shows a coach without a plan that's inexperienced. It's made these mistakes pretty much all year. So I don't want to go on a tirade against Jason Rolls. He's a rookie coach, but you got to call out for what it is. Like, the way he played Dylan Brown today was ridiculous. Next week, they're saying that he might not even make the team. Like, why did you bother keeping him for?
Yeah.
And the dumbest thing to me is that people saying that, oh, we had to have Papali at number 6 to give him a go. You know what? You're not wedded to Dean Hawkins. Hawkins is only there as a placeholder until Moses comes back. Put Dylan Brown at 7 and leave Papa Lee at 6. It's fine. You can still do what you wanted to do. Instead, you tear your team up. And this is a guy that played Jermaine Hopgood, who was a State of Origin lock last year, as a hooker and off the bench for most of this season. So, I mean, I think it's a terrible decision. I think it's silly. And at the moment, I made this point that I'll finish on. The Eels were 6 points out of the 8 going into today. They would be 4 points out of the 8 if they won that game today. And it's around 19. Like, there is over 2 months of football left. And everyone can say it's a rebuild as much as they want. If you've got a coach that's writing off the season halfway through when you could be 4 points out of the 8, then what are you even doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the fans aren't really impressed, Barnesy. It's the coaching style. It's like he's just thrown the book out and he's just shooting darts at the wall now. So it's an interesting play. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think the fans would be real impressed, and Lord knows there's plenty of them out there.
I want to talk about Isaiah Yo quickly, boys. Obviously, only got a 40 today. Did play limited minutes due to backing up from Origin. Going to be sitting at about 530K after this game at 9% ownership. Panthers have got a really, really good draw coming up. What's your guys' thoughts on him as a trade-in option? I know he's a safe option, and obviously he doesn't have the ceiling of some of the other second rowers, but I think you do a lot worse than bringing Isaiah Yo into your team, yeah?
Yeah,
It's a really good
absolutely.
downgrade. I mean,
Yeah,
on the run home last year, and I've said this before in the All Stars podcast multiple times. Like when I was chasing number one, and probably from round 21 to 25, I was second, and I was looking at his team every week. Isaiah Yo killed me, absolutely destroyed me as a pod. He scored 82 points as an average on the run home last year, did not rest, and hit attack everywhere because I had a good draw. They absolutely killed it. So, I mean, if he does that again, he's going to be a massive pod and an awesome downgrade. So, I actually love it as long as he doesn't get rested.
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Um,
when you've got guys like Dylan Lucas now that you've got to get rid of, if you've got Lucas up in your second row, I think it's a great play to go from him down to Isaiah Yo next week.
is there anyone else that you think, Mark, that is an option to bring in for Panthers? I mean, obviously, other than, Nathan Cleary, that those who don't have him, Blaze Talangi is obviously another one if you are looking for a centre wing five. I think more 5'8", which would probably agree on than centre wing for Talangi. I'm happy with with his score bringing him in this week. But is there anyone else there that you think's an option at all?
Well, I love Blaze. I got him in about 6, 7 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I've enjoyed it. But yeah, Brian Tyre you mentioned, and he's been my number one outside of Cleary. Brian Tyre is going to have a large break even, close to a ton break even next week. I might even just bring him in anyway, playing against South Sydney.
Mm.
But he's a decent price. I think he's just over 600K. So he's a really easy one, and I love him as a pod. And other than that, the other one that I found interesting, first of all, I'd say don't go near Tango. I don't care that he turned up. He'll score 35 next week. Couldn't
Yeah.
go near him.
Yeah.
Even at his price, I don't care. He's just been that unreliable. But I'm interested whether they're finally going to unleash IPAP. He played 80 minutes today. I know Liam Martin was out. But Garner has been on the bench previously as well. Scott Sorensen's not playing at the moment. One of those guys, if they can just get Pap the minutes, I reckon 512,000, he could come home pretty strong. And I really like the look of him now. He looks really fit. He ran onto a ball at full steam ahead on an angle off Cleary today where he looked like Britton Nickera running off Nico Hines. Like if he's up for this final third, yeah, he could be a bit of a dark horse on this run. I could see him doing a bit of damage going into the finals, but he has to get that role, and that's a thing that we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and that's the telling part, isn't it? The fact that we just don't know what minutes he's going to get. The fact that he's got the dual position, front row forward, second row, I think is actually really helpful. When you've got guys up there like Tino, Aaron Clark, so there is sort of a few there that you can
Mm.
mix and match with and swap them forwards if you need to, or if you're running low on trades, and yeah, you can move back and forwards to cover a position for the latter part of the season. So yeah, look, I've got him. I think I've got him in my current draft team for off the bench. Either mine or Bailey's, one or the other.
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely think Cleary, Blaze, and Toto are the home run guys. They're the
Yeah,
three.
I was actually starting with IPAP in my original team at the start of the season, and then when I
I
think
did.
it wasn't
Same.
named round one. I think the biggest concern is that we've seen several times during the season this year that he's been named to start and then they've actually benched him an
Mm.
hour before the game starts. So it is a bit of a risk. But yeah, I'm with you, Mark. I thought he had a good game today as well. If you can pick him up in some drafts, well, that's fantastic.
I mean, the
Um,
other thing too is that Ross,
yep.
you don't know what Cleary does too. Did he just say to IPAP, "Oh, it's your old club mate, go nuts,"
Yeah.
have 80
Yeah.
minutes because he's
Yeah.
playing Parramatta,
That's
So there's
it.
always some of that could be there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Can I just ask before we move on from this game, a quick one? I don't have Lomax or Val, and for ages we've all been talking about bringing those guys in for the run home, but at the same time now saying their draws aren't real flash. Are they both still options? Thoughts on bringing one in or either in? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have either, and I do have room there to bring in a gun, uh, center wing for the run home, and just not really sure what to do.
I don't have either, and
Mm.
Val. I got to say, I was never interested in. He's just you saw it on the weekend, right? He had a line break assist, and a try assist, and he got like 65 or something or 71. And he's got to do heaps, and he's got the goal kicking as well. He's obviously got that in him to do heaps, but I just don't think that the Dragons, they have the nickname the Faders for a reason. They normally fade from the midpoint, and I just don't love their draw for the final third. So I don't. He's been good all year, and he's been great for anyone that had him. And I wish I had him for the first half of the season. I just don't think he's going to do it for the final third compared to the other options. So I've got no interest in Bell Holmes. Whereas Lomax, I think that the Eels are going to fade away now as well. Like you see, like what Rolls is doing, bringing Dylan Brown out, who you could argue is behind Lomax probably their best player at the moment that's on the park. If he's going to keep doing that and troll these rookie halves and stuff, and have a rookie hooker for them that doesn't know the combinations anyway, that's just started to Parramatta, like all this stuff combined, you just sort of go, are they going to get flogged a bit? Is he going to get enough ball? But, he still should score well, Lomax. So that's why I'm slightly interested. Like I almost traded Lomax in today instead of Cleary because I had one trade left to do in the final game and it was going to be Lomax. But I went, no, I'm going to get Cleary next week anyway. I'm going to do that. It's safer to save a trade that way. So if I was going to rank him, Timmy, I'd happily still buy Lomax because he's got those offloads and tackle breaks and goal kicking. Whereas Bal Holmes, he's relying on the goal kicking with a much lesser work rate power and still a pretty questionable draw.
Yeah, I do like Lomax too, but I've only got probably one room for one more gun centre wing, and that's going to be Brian To'o out of those three for me. There is some talk that Mitch Moses may be back next week. So if he is back next week, that may unleash, Lomax a bit more, but we also thought he wouldn't score well without him, and he has. So,
Well, that'd be good. They can make Mitch Moses 18th man so they can develop their other players for next year.
or they can just play him with hooker or something else
Yeah.
instead. Yeah.
Put him in front row.
Captain of the reserve orange peelers.
God, jeez. All right, the last game of the round, Broncos 26, Titans 14. For the Titans, Randall 77, Tino 67, Bo Firma 63, Jolliffe with a 59, Campbell 58, and then on the other side, Southey was the top scorer for the Broncos off the bench with a 75, Reece Walsh 71, Paddy Carrigan 66, and Stagg 65. And then you go down to Karapani with a 42 and a man with a 36, who was another one, Mark, that was highly traded in this week was Ezra Mam.
He, he's never been a consistent super coach option until this year.
Mm.
So I mean, it's almost like a little similar to the Nwanga Nia Tuaze situation. Like Nwanga Nia Tuaze, we haven't got a big sample size because he's only been playing this year, really. Mam, we haven't got a big sample size of him playing well because he's never played well until this year, really, on a consistent basis. He's always had a 90 odd or 100 odd in him, but then he'll have 35s for 3 weeks in a row. He's bucked that trend so far. I was never a fan on banking on that with the other options that were there. But credit to him, he's gone well recently, so maybe he'll keep going well, and he's older and more mature and stuff. But at the moment, like what he did today was pretty much on brand for Ezra Mam. Like it doesn't matter what the matchup is, he'll throw up a 36, and it also doesn't matter what the matchup is. One in every 5 or 6 games, he'll normally throw up a big one. So I'm not a big fan of him. If you own him, you're obviously wedded to him, and you've got to start him. The Broncos don't have the worst run home, so I mean that's a thing that's favourable for him. But this game was not a fan of it myself.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
God,
late on in the second half, he threw that massive big rainbow pass. They called it a Harbour Bridge pass, but I think it was closer to a rainbow because it was definitely higher than the Harbour Bridge. Out to Karapani on the wing, who was pretty much open space on the outside, right on the touchline. Had he got that through, obviously there's a few more points there for him, and all of a sudden we're starting to talk about 60s rather than 40s. But yeah, look, I don't know. I think he's if you wanted to carry a second 5'8", I think he's the player that you could have quite convincingly for your second 5'8", and you could use him on matchups. But I think when you've got probably most people are going to be running three decent front row forwards. You'll have two decent second row forwards on your bench, three fullbacks, an extra halfback, and a couple of extra quality centre wings. You can't play them all. So at which point I think most people have written it off as a second 5'8" spot. So I think you need Munster or maybe Jaden Campbell, and that's about it. So I don't really see the purpose in grabbing him.
Yeah, there's not really any. I don't know about you, Mark, but there's nothing else I really like here. I mean, for either of these two teams, Supercoach wise, as trade-ins. Haas obviously didn't play, and he's obviously a concern too with him not being 100% either. But is there anyone that takes your eye at all from either of these two teams?
For,
No, I can't hear
sorry,
you, Mark.
yeah, you dropped out. Just for
Sorry,
me
mate.
personally, yeah. Sorry, Barnesy, jump in.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I was on mute. Accident. Um, I was just going to say I couldn't go near the Titans. The same thing that I said about Newcastle.
Mm.
Basically, copy and paste it. I think they're gonna sack Des probably this week. They're gonna have a bad final third of the season. They'll probably sit guys out, reduce the minutes to guys like Tino. Like I couldn't go near any of them. The Broncos, though, similarly, I'm actually not heaps interested in. They've got a decent draw on the run home, but they just seem to be Timmy, as a Broncos fan, can probably jump in after me and tell me what he thinks because you'll probably know a bit better. But it just seemed to me to be a very top heavy team, both in real life and in Supercoach. And it's not great. Like obviously you got Payne Haas, but the other guys that are at the top, like Adam Reynolds, isn't really an option, but he's at the top there. And then you've got a mixed match of other guys that contribute. Reece Walsh is at the top, but I looked at Reece Walsh today, before today, for this round because I went, I could get Pappenhausen out and get Reece Walsh in and go for a massive pod play with the Gold Coast Titans matchup. And the thing that put me off was exactly what he did today. Like he had three line break assists, I think, one line break, one try, and he ends up with that score. Like he's just got to do so much to try and get to his 70 plus score. It's crazy. And he still had that massive strappy on his leg as well. So yeah, it was a game that I didn't think was very good, Timmy. And as a Broncos fan, you'd be happy with the win. But I'm not too keen on any of your boys, I have to say, aside from Holden Payne Hassan.
No, I think outside of Payne and maybe Paddy Carrigan, if you're looking for somebody, if you can get him at the right price at the right time over the next few weeks, he's got the dual position, second row, front row forward, so he could be handy. Look, I've had Tino basically, well, literally since the start of the season. Heaps of people have jumped off over the last few weeks. The fact that he played a lot less minutes today, but still managed 67 points, I was actually really happy with. It was a great pod for a lot of my head-to-heads too this afternoon. Look, Chris Randall's one that's piqued interest for a while. He just
Yep.
keeps getting the points. And now when you've got guys like Donahue, you've got McInnes, there's a fair few floating around that have got the hooker 2RF duel. Connor Watson would be another one. Look, he's somebody who seems to be getting the minutes. He's playing on that right-hand side, second row position. Got a few line breaks today and some attacking stats as well. So, look, he's one that I am pretty keen on. I can't find room for him at the moment, but I do need to make one more change in my second row, and he might be the one that I bring in. A lot will probably depend on what happens this week, whether Des keeps his job or not. Because Lord knows if a new coach comes in, that might make a difference with how they use David Fafita, who just even on that was great to see him back today. Did seem a little bit more interested. I did miss parts of the game though. So yeah, I don't know. It's he's going to be one to watch. And then the only other one I'm interested in is Bo Firma for the Titans. Possibly a like for like straight swap with Dylan Lucas, flicking back and forwards between your second row and your centre wing.
Yeah, I've been spruiking Chris Randall for a while, Tim. I'm sure you've
Mm.
heard me mention his name a couple of times on the podcast as an
Yeah.
option too, but I don't know. I just don't have any trust in the Titans at the moment to be bringing anybody in from that team at the moment, unfortunately. I mean, Jaden Campbell was one I was interested in for a while there. But even then, like, just with his concussions and injury history with him, I couldn't go near him. Yeah, no.
They
It
they
was,
change coach and everything can just get ripped
yeah,
up as well.
yeah,
Like a few smart coaches chatted to me about Randall 5 weeks ago or
mm,
something, and they've done really well out of him.
yeah,
The problem now is that they get a new coach next week or the week after, and then all of a sudden you get someone like Cleese Haas starting again. You get David Fafita starting because, like, if you're a new coach and you come in this Gold Coast Titans side, could you imagine like not playing David Fafita? Like, it would just
mm.
be ridiculous. Like, you're going to just start him. Like, it's the easiest coaching change to do. Just start David Fafita now. And the other thing, and they've even got like Junior Farmer Ali, who's probably like itching to get back minutes who started for them before. So there's just so many different things that can happen.
And
It's
then
hard.
Keno Kinney's due back in a couple of weeks as well, so that's going to make a massive
Mm.
shuffle there.
Yeah.
What they do with AJ Brimson, because we've seen he doesn't do well in centres either. So who knows what they're going to do? It's all going to depend on whether he does get the sack and who takes over. I certainly couldn't go near any of them at this current point in time, that's for sure. So. All right, guys. Well, that's all the games covered off for this week. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Wedgetail Golf. If you haven't checked them out, wedgetailgolf.com. If you're looking after any shirts or hat merchandise for your golfing games, go check them out. There's some good stuff there, and he's currently looking to expand his range at the moment, I believe. Anything else, boys, before we wrap it up? Any early thoughts on trades or anything like that at all yet? Too early?
Too early.
Too early?
Yeah,
Timmy?
way too early. No,
Yeah.
too early for me, mate. I'm,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
still trying to get my head around this round and yeah, whether or not anything's going to happen overnight in updates.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this round. Thank you, Timmy, as always, for jumping on. Appreciate it. And Mark, appreciate your work also, and thank you for coming on. Don't forget to go check out the podcast if you haven't. NRL All Stars podcast. He's a great podcast. I listen to it most weeks whenever I get a chance to. So please do go check it out. And don't forget to go check out his articles that he's writing as well.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thanks for having me, boys. Great fun.
All right, until Tuesday for TLT, we will see you next Sunday. Thank you.
Stay safe, be good.